What's going on? It's Logan. Welcome to my treehouse. Obviously, we are not in an actual treehouse right now, but one day we will be. I'm coming on here to start something. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's something. And I am here to just share my story. One of the things that has been the most nerve-wracking about sharing lately is that there are billions of people in this world. There are millions of people creating. There are hundreds of thousands of people who are known for this. And then there are hundreds of people who are making a living off of this. All that to say, that's not necessarily my goal, but I do want to share what's going on with my life because I know for younger me, I've wanted to see somebody like myself telling their story and sharing it with other people. So a little bit about me. I am a Black, non-binary, trans-masculine, indigenous, queer, polyamorous, dog dad, partner of a person of 12 years, and living my life right now in Washington, D.C. I'm from Prince George's County, Maryland, and this is my story. I plan on sharing multiple videos, so this is just going to be a little bit of an intro to what I hope to do with this channel, and you'll hear my dog scratching himself in the background. That's fine, but I want to open up a little bit more because I feel like at certain junctures of my life and certain parts of my transition, I've just disappeared. And that's from people who I love dearly. That's from people who barely know me, but have been connected to me tangentially. And as I've been going through my transition, it's felt very isolating in a lot of ways. I don't feel that being trans inherently necessitates being alone or being isolated, but for me, I had to go into a cocoon. When I first came out as trans and non-binary to my parents, who are very devoutly evangelical Christians, they immediately shut down. They did not give me a negative response. They did not give me a positive response. They sort of just went neutral because I don't think they knew what to do. And later on, when I told them that I was actually planning on medically transitioning, and this was in 2000, it was in 2017 that I told them I was transitioning. It was in 2018 that I actually began the process. And one of the first things that my mother did was give me some information on detransitioning and people who have detransitioned, because I don't think she understood that Chaco. Chaco. Lay down. Lay down. So my mother gave me some information on detransitioning, which I think in her heart and in her mind, she felt that I was doing something maybe spontaneously. As somebody who has very severe ADHD and someone who picks up and puts things down very frequently, very spontaneously, I think that she may have thought that this was something similar, and it wasn't. I had thought very long and hard about this. In the beginning of 2016, when I was in Rome with my partner, we were there while they were studying abroad. I just happened to tag along, and it was probably the best decision I ever made. Throughout those months when we were in Italy, it was just becoming more and more and more evident that I was deeply unhappy, deeply depressed, and didn't know how to verbalize what was happening in my body. And they were a women in gender studies major, and I was able to talk to them and hear more about gender and sexuality, hear more about different family structures, learn more about polyamory, learn more about all these things that I felt very inclined towards. But even when you have the language to put to something, sometimes it it still is really difficult to say out loud. And in order for me to actually say it out loud, it required a sort of strength and resilience that I didn't even know I had. And when I said it out loud, the consequences of that were beautiful and terrible at the same time. The beautiful part was, okay, I could breathe. I could see a future for myself, because for very many years, growing up in church, growing up conditioned to be a woman, growing up conditioned to live a certain life, I did not have the ability to see a future for myself. Like, I could not see past 23. And I was like, if I live past 23, who knows what's gonna happen? But I didn't think that it was gonna happen. And that's one of the wild ways in which depression works. It kind of stifles you and puts you in this box that doesn't allow you to move. I didn't realize that the depression that I was experiencing was gender dysphoria. It was my lack of access to visual representation of what I wanted to see for myself. So when I decided to start medically transitioning, the only thing I knew is I didn't want to be called a girl anymore. I didn't want people to see me or hear me and think, oh, that's a girl, that's a woman. I did not want that. On the flip side of that, I did not have an end goal. I was not looking at trans masculine men, or I wasn't looking at men, period, to be like, this is what I aspire to be. And that made it very complicated for me to go through the process, because as I was starting to take my T-shots, as I was starting to do research to get top surgery and figure that out, I still was completely in the dark of what my future looked like. And as I was going through that really messy, really scary, really dark period of my life, it was in my best interest to not have everybody staring at me. Like, I feel very much so that I'm deeply influenced by the people around me that care about me. And at the time, the people who were caring about me the most and closest to me were my parents. And I knew for a fact that if I stayed close with them throughout this process, that they 100% would talk me out of it. And I somehow had the foresight to take the time and completely disconnect from them. No communication, no sharing of pictures, no phone calls. Mind you, we had been talking almost once a week as I was in school, in college in Philly, after I'd moved out. So it was really, really, really difficult for me to do that, especially after moving back into the area less than 10 miles from where they live and not talking to them at all. It was really hard, but it made sense because there's only space for one thing inside of a cocoon. And as I was going through that process, I found myself very sad, very depressed, and not creating anything. I wasn't making art. I wasn't doing any creative writing. I was journaling, and I was keeping track of where I was and all of the things that I had done, documenting pictures of my transition, writing, making voice recordings. All of those things were for me, and I did not plan on sharing those things with anybody else because I felt very self-conscious. I felt that a lot of times people who were doing those things, it was for optics and for sort of clickbait kind of thing. And I later found out, just by going through my own process, that in documenting those things and in sharing them, there is a sort of healing that occurs when you are able to reach out and connect with other people. I don't feel that my art is specifically geared towards transness or trans people in the sense that that's what I want to create, But that is what I'm drawn to create because it is a reflection of my own personal experience. So if you see the work that I do and you see my paintings, my writing, my anything that I make, it's inherently trans because it is me. And it is inherently Black because it is me, and Indigenous, and poly, and queer. And so I use my experience to focus in on what I want to see reflected back in the world. So I say all that to say that all of the things that I've been making this year in 2024, from the very beginning, January 1st, to today, it has been a journey in self-discovery. It has been a peeling back of layers. It has been a ripping of seams and breaking of bones, literally, and tearing apart of all the things that I thought I knew. And it's all allowed me to settle into a place where I'm open to share. And as I make these videos, who knows what's gonna happen? But hopefully it touches somebody. Hopefully there is somebody that is watching this and says, I see myself in you, and I'm glad you're doing this because I needed to see it. And if not, that's okay too. I'm just doing my best to document my process because I was told by one of my close friends to record everything. And so I'm doing that. And I've been doing that. I've been journaling since I've been 13. And I've been documenting things as best as I can. And now I am in a collecting and archiving phase of my life where I am putting everything together and sharing it in the best way that I know how. And it's not gonna be perfect. It's not gonna be pretty all the time, but I want to bring people into my experience. And as I go forward, we're just gonna see what happens. We're gonna see. But I am thankful for the opportunity to share, and I am thankful to myself for being brave enough to take the step that I've been struggling to take, which is this, period. Recording it, thinking of it, sitting down and actually doing it, pressing upload. Whatever happens after that, I don't know, but I'm thankful for all of the healing that has occurred to allow me to get to this place, because it has been very hard. It has been very hard.